Welcome back to Crossroads. I'm your host, Judy Davis. Today on Crossroads, we're talking about women and teen girls at a crossroads. And we're happy to have with us today Jean Carroll, who is the president and CEO of the YWCA. Welcome back again.
Thank you.
Now, during this segment, we like to concentrate on the programs that you offer to the community. Could you share more about your emergency housing program? Does a person just walk in, or do they have to be referred? How does that work?
Both ways. Our emergency housing program, the most typical way that women come into the program is through a referral. There is, through Monroe County, they have a homeless services division. So if a person finds themselves homeless and they go to the county has a way of knowing which providers have vacancies because we all check in with the county. So they know where there's openings so that a person doesn't have to, go to one place and find out that there's no room and then go to another and so on and so forth. So generally we get referrals through the county or through another provider. And however, if someone comes into the YWCA, we will work with that person, and if it's early enough in the day, we'll ask them to go meet with the folks over at the county and then return. And if it's later in the day, if we have a room, we can arrange for them to still come in and then have a place to stay for that evening. So it just depends, but often it's we're a good-sized community, so we try to help to coordinate that, and there are some shelters that are just for women, like ours, which is for women and children, and other shelters that are only for men, so we want to make sure that, we're getting the right people to the right places with the least amount of frustration.
Okay, alrighty. Now you also have something called transitional housing. How's that different from the emergency?
Well, in emergency housing is very, very short term. We're talking about probably 10 days to 2 weeks. We work with the woman who comes in. We help her to assess where she is and what her next steps should be. We help to move her on, whether it's to, it could be for some people, maybe they need some additional services beyond just housing, so we try to hook them up with that. But if it looks like that person is not going to find appropriate housing, they can move into our transitional program, that they need more time to be able to sort out issues, that their issues maybe are a little bit deeper or more challenging. So like if someone has a disability of some sort, for instance, they might go into our transitional housing. That could be a physical disability. They could have physical health issues. They could have mental health issues. It could be a variety of things. They could have drug or alcohol issues and, be waiting for entry or something along those lines. So transitional is a little longer term than just an emergency. So other people will come to emergency and they will be ready to move into a permanent housing. Whereas some people, they're really not in, their life is too confused that they need to stay a bit longer.
And I did notice you shared something about person-centered strategies, like persons who are in a crisis, maybe feeling shame or feeling abandoned or maybe somewhat torn down. So how do your person-centered strategies help to build the woman back up?
Well, the whole idea of person-centered strategies is that change only happens coming from that person. So it's really about working with that person to help them to figure out what their next step needs to be, rather than saying to them, okay, you need to do X, Y, and Z. you know.
Okay, so let it come
It's
from
really,
person.
it is really about, building them up, giving them lots of positive energy and encouragement, recognizing the strengths. Everybody has strengths, even in the worst crisis in the world. You're going to find something about each individual that is so positive, and you're going to keep pulling that positive energy, pulling on the positive energy and getting them to then feel like, okay, they can talk. We're not going to be putting you down. We're going to be building you up. And then we're going to say to you, tell me what you want to do. Here are some options that might be out there for you to consider, but it's up to you which way you want to turn.
Okay.
So that's the heart of the person-centered strategy, is to have the decision-making be made by that individual.
Okay, all right. So far we talked about programs that are not long-term. Do you have any long-term housing programs?
We do have a long-term housing program. We have two types of long-term housing. One is for single women, and it's more like a communal style of housing. It's kind of the old YW style, and it's you have a room and you share a kitchen and a lounge and bathrooms. So that's one type of permanent housing. The other type of permanent housing is permanent apartments. And so we have apartments in the community as well as on site that can be used by individual women or by women with children. And those are permanent. They are tend to be some level of subsidy to them so that they're a little bit more affordable for women that are, kind of trying to rebuild their lives, because the rents, in Rochester are very high.
Yeah.
So what we try to do is make sure that you're not spending your whole paycheck on rent, that you have money for food and all of those other things. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I did know that you had a program, I think an aftercare program that once a woman has regained control of her life, and she might still need a little support here and there. So what is your aftercare program
Well,
offer?
this is just a fantastic program, and that is, you come into emergency housing and you're there for, a couple of weeks, and we find you an apartment in the community, and then you're there, and then what happens? So sometimes, homelessness doesn't happen overnight. And the things that underlie the reasons that you became homeless in the first place aren't going to go away that quickly. So women need ongoing support. And so what we have tried to do is to be there with women and to do outreach to them at least twice a month, so that we can check in on them and see how it's going and see what other kinds of services they need. Our case managers are very knowledgeable of services in the community, so they may know who to connect folks with, so that, life is like that. It's up and down. It's not a straight line, So that's what we try to do, is to keep them connected, and so that they remain in stable housing. We don't want to just be in emergency housing in a revolving door. We want long-term improvements.
Okay, so they'll know they're not alone.
Right, that's right.
That's the end of this segment. When we come back, we're going to talk about the teen programs that the Y offers, and also find out how you, the audience, can help. Be back in a moment.